Hey, peace and blessings to you. My name is Jere B. I am the EntreMusician, and so are you. I just want to have a conversation with you today. As you know, if you subscribe to this channel, it's been a long time since I've actually done a one-on-one. I usually just keep this channel for interviews now, great conversations that I have with fellow EntreMusicians, and a lot of my time and energy has been spent developing the podcast, which is really growing. I don't know if you've become a subscriber or not, but definitely want to check it out on whatever platform you listen to podcasts on. The EntreMusician podcast is there. But I've been in some incredible conversations with fellow EntreMusicians. I've been doing a lot of deep thinking about this era that we find ourselves in, this lockdown, this quarantine. And it's amazing to me, the conversations that I've had, and it's caused me to come to this place where I just want to share with you from my heart. And I think, without sounding like an alarmist or a conspiracy theorist or anything like that, that this is probably the most important video that I have made thus far. And what I want to do is, after I lay out my heart to you, is I want to create a dialogue. I want to hear what you have to say. I'm going to give you my contact information so you can reach out to me. And as I've been talking with these other EntreMusicians, the one thing that we have agreed on to, we may not have been in agreement with everything, but we have been in alignment with, you know what, we really have to raise our voices. Something is at work here, and we need to speak up louder about it and how it affects us as artists, as bands, as singers, as EntreMusicians, fill in the blank, whatever category you find yourself in. Now, the one thing that I want to say, first of all, is that EntreMusicians, our heart, you know, there's a line of demarcation, and our heart is to always try to think deeper, always try to see further, always try to consider what's beneath the surface of anything that's happening. You know, I think there's a clear line of demarcation, and I won't go down this rabbit hole, but, you know, it seems to me like, you know, musicians, we really do pour all of our energy, all of our heart into the gift, into the talent, into the work, into the shedding, right? But we know many great musicians who shed very hard, runs their fingers up and down the keyboard, or plays every note on the saxophone or trumpet or whatever their instrument is, and top-notch musician. But when you ask them about copyright or publishing, when you ask them about distribution or licensing, you know, when you ask them about the different components of streaming, you know, or what PRO they recommend, or they haven't a clue as to what these things are. So EntreMusicians understand that there has to be a healthy balance of who we are as musicians and what we know and where we're going as far as our career is concerned. Again, it's the mindset, the discipline, and the focus that draws that line of demarcation. Now, again, without sounding like an alarmist or somebody crazy, I just want to take you back. I'm an old man. I'm 55 years old, 55 years young, I was going to say, but I'm an old guy, and I grew up in the 70s. And the one thing that's interesting to me as I look back in the rearview mirror is, on Saturday mornings we used to watch this cartoon called the Jetsons. Watch the cartoon, and you know, they were in the 70s a futuristic family. You know, they had microwaves, which we had not seen. They had the internet, they had personal computers, they had the iPhone, you know, they could watch TV on their phone and all of that. We also had another show that came up, Get Smart, who was about this spy and had all these technical gadgets, and we were like blown away. This stuff was far-fetched. And where we are now in 2020, as far as our technology is concerned, the only thing that we don't have that the Jetsons did was the flying cars. And I understand that Tesla might be working on that, because they have the cars now that hover just so above the ground. Why am I saying that? When I graduated in 1983, a couple years before that, 81, 82, we read a book by George Orwell that we were to write this paper on, and it was called 1984. And all of the things that George Orwell was talking about with respect to Big Brother, I'm sure you've heard that, with respect to the thought police, and all of these, what we call now Orwellian authoritative tactics of taking away the civil liberties of people was outlandish. It was 1981, 1982 when I was reading that, and even that these things would just be on the horizon. Again, that was 1984. I think he wrote the book in the 60s. But with respect to that, we were like, oh my gosh, none of that stuff would never happen. And then I read another book called The Unseen Hand by A. Ralph Epperson. And I read that book about 27 years ago or so. And it was an introduction into conspiracy theories. And you go, it's a good, interesting read. It makes for great conversation. And you know that when you say the word conspiracy theory, it brings about a lot of negative connotation. I'm only saying that to you because I just want to set something in place before you as I see it. Now, there's one other thing that I need to just interject here, and that is the fact that I can dismiss conspiracy theories. I can dismiss the proverbial those who are in control, but history also sets in place, beyond the book, beyond the TV show, beyond the cartoon, some things that has taken America by surprise, specifically the Tuskegee experiment, the Privacy Act after 9/11, these things, that, and there are many others. I'm really trying not to go down a rabbit hole. How does that apply to EntreMusicians? Well, in the area, or the era, I should say, of COVID, of the quarantines and the restrictions, I think we were very cool in the government taking the necessary precautions before the data has come in. And now that we're 2 months into it, as far as EntreMusicians are concerned, I begin to see some very good things because, we do what we need to do. And, there was a lot of bands, a lot of artists that began streaming from their bedrooms or their basements or their garages. This is what we're going to do to make it happen. But there were some other critical situations whereby I have a good friend who had 4 streams of income, full-time musician, 4 streams of income, top notch in his craft, in that all the A-listers, when they would come to his area to perform, they would hire him, or they would hire him out to go on tour with them. That income is gone. Recording sessions that they would hire him for, that income is gone. He was also teaching music theory at his community college. That income is gone. And finally, on Sundays when he was in town, he would be a musician at his church, and very prominent musician, and there was an income, there was a salary there. That's gone. Okay, so 4 streams of income immediately wiped out. So the streaming service that he began to teach on is not really benefiting him because he didn't have time to really develop that, because he was always busy with his other activities. This was income that he could count on. Didn't write any songs, doesn't own any publishing, can't administer any licenses. So boom, that income is gone, right? Or non-existent, I should say. So with respect to that, I just begin thinking, well, what do we do? Right? Because there are clear examples of people having opposing opinions, I'm trying to find the right word, opposing opinions to what's going on in our current status and what America should do or not do and how they should do it to get back to work. And it seems like politically, ideology, philosophically, even spiritually, in some notions that the platform that they choose to use, that they do not own, can throttle them, can subdue their information, suppress their information, or totally delete their accounts. And we've seen that happen, and it's happening like more rapidly, and is happening to more people with less prominence than you think. You know, you can hear, and I don't want to yell out any names, but you know, there were some prominent people that were removed, their accounts were deleted, and people, you know, it was a little fervor. But then even lesser known people who have disregarded, for whatever reasons, the community guidelines of a particular channel was taken out, or was throttled, or you can't find your videos, or you have to search hard for them, all of this stuff. And it just started me to thinking about this word ownership. How seriously do we take ownership as EntreMusicians? Right? Because we don't own Facebook, we don't own Google, we don't own Instagram, we don't own Twitter, we don't own YouTube. So we should be thinking further ahead. We should be thinking more deeply into this aspect of ownership, because if our income can be so easily removed, okay, from the traditional stuff that we do, and then if our income can be throttled or suppressed or deleted because we choose to sing our song, whatever our ideology, faith, political ideology is, you know, whatever our opinion about a particular subject is, and that can go against the community guideline, should we not be thinking about ownership, owning our own platform, owning the distribution of how our artistry is being distributed to our fans, our followers, our friends, and the masses that we've curated through our work, through our gift, and through our planning? I have some interesting ideas of what I think should happen, but what I want to do is I want to open up a dialogue with you. So I would love for you to make any comments that you have. You think I'm off my rocker, first of all, that's cool. Please put it in the comments below. If you think that we should have a greater dialogue, put those in the comments below, but also go to the EntreMusician.com. That's the EntreMusician.com, and fill out the form that I have there on the contact page, and I'll get in touch with you directly, and we can begin raising our voices. And on this platform, in the coming weeks and months, I'll be sharing with you what my thoughts are on ownership and distribution, because now is the time to hit the reset button and to refocus, to reorganize, to rethink, and to plan appropriately, so that we are not so beholden to these platforms that we don't own, or beholden to a situation where our livelihood can be stripped from us just like that. We need to rethink, and we need to do it now. So once again, my name is Jere B. Thank you for listening. And again, whether you agree or disagree is irrelevant. I do think it's important for us to think ahead and to think deeply. Even if we disagree, I should say, we should at least be in alignment. Ownership for EntreMusicians. Peace and blessings to you, and I hope to talk to you very, very soon. God bless.